Introduction. I grew up in Ballymun Towers. My NCID project is institutional living. So I'm going to talk about how soft power is used to influence people so they accept their living conditions. I'm going to show how poetry is used to connect to spirituality. And these two canvases are based on, I was drawing in Prospect Hill, and I witnessed this woman struggling getting off a bus after a day's work and carrying her messages home. So it prompted me to write a poem about the experience. So I thought that beautiful, uplifting language would actually make more sense than trying to impose an elite view of this community. This is masculine architecture that I witnessed when I was drawing in Prospect Hill. It's very masculine, it's linear, it's brutal, it's unforgiving, it's not welcoming. It's based on the sign of functionality, so it's only really there to provide a bed and accommodation for people so they can go to work. There's no, it's not induced for communities, friendships, and people to get together. It's not warm and it's not encouraging of relationships. And these are 5 canvases that I did based on the idea that people living in this brutal linear masculine architecture and their story should be told. So basically I tried to tell their story through colour. So instead of painting grey, solid, um, depressing architecture, I decided to paint colourful language, colourful paintings to show that there's energy immersing out of these buildings because of people's lived lives. This is a balloon sculpture that I decided to do on my visits to Prospect Hill. I noticed there was no playground or a place for children to play. There was also a sign that said no ball games. So it's not conducive for children to grow up and learn to be adults by developing relationships, being in a community, learning to deal with conflict. None of these are accessible. The only thing that's accessible is the developers just did the bare minimum to get the complex passed. Now, because of that, I decided, because of the linear architecture and the ugly phallic shape sculpture, so I do balloons. So the balloons are curved, round, welcoming, a metaphor for childhood, good experience, children laughing, enjoyment. The balloons are also a metaphor for the fact that things are fleeting in this place. It's not really, the developers don't really want families to enjoy themselves. It's just there as a show. So the balloons somebody can try go down the slide for a burst. My influences are um, Seamus Nolan, Hotel Ballymun, where you could pay for a room in the night, and just before it was getting demolished, Mona Hatib and Anish Kumar. These are spiritual artists that use the ephemeral and the eternal to make art. Now, I believe in spirituality, so chakras are very important. That energy is immersed in the body, and that you use meditation to unlock the knowledge within your body. And also Howard Hawkins and Helena Flip, both spiritual artists. Context. Okay. I never really understood what soft power was until I went to NCAD and experienced people of different backgrounds. I realised that soft power was a form of PTSD for lower income families. Soft power is a slow drip of influence designed to force you to accept the conditions you lived in. This aspect, this affects the psyche. You become accustomed to distrusting the other as what you know gives comfort. People in the art world allow me to examine my own conditioning, which led to examining my own thought behavior. This thought behavior is accepting effective of soft power. I have always tried to find spirituality in the work and the work of other artists. This allows me to transcend my environment, condition, and my living situation. They asked me, and I explained this is what I'm doing. So they told me to make it a bit smaller. So I took the canvases from the stairwell leading up to the masculine statue and brought them to the waterfall. Now I didn't realise that the waterfall was a bone of contention with this community until a walker came over to me and said a year ago the residents were protesting because the management turned off the water. And prior to that, this was actually a place of communion where people got together and talked. But because he turned off the water, it kind of ruined the atmosphere of the place. So I actually added more to my exhibition by holding the exhibition in the water feature. When I was putting up my exhibition with my dad, I came in contact with soft power and bureaucracy. This bureaucracy was there was no office for me to go and consult about putting on an exhibition. There was no residents association, so there was nowhere I could actually go and talk or ask when I had permission. And when I was putting up the exhibition, two security guards came over and asked why I was disturbing the place. Because 12 residents of the place complained. Now, I didn't realise that this had gotten effect because the dog walker told me the water fountain had been turned off a year ago and the actual residents were complaining and protesting about it. So they assumed that that's what I was doing. I also had rolling chalk, children need a playground. So the two security guards got me to talk to the manager. I convinced the manager. Then the manager of the site told me I had to talk to the main office. I went through a lot of bureaucracy just to get to talk to a receptionist, different questions and stuff like that. Then eventually I got to the receptionist, I explained the situation, and then she told me that I had to wait 5 minutes to get permission from her. So that's a soft power way of just saying you can't go ahead with this, but we're not going to tell you. So I just went ahead with the actual exhibition. So the only thing was that I did get the phone number of the place, and that's invaluable because how they've set it up is that they've set up a dummy company called Zip and Stitch Sewing and Alterations on Bachelor's Walk in Dublin. And this is just a front for the business, because as you can see, it's just a virtual office. It's just above Starbucks coffee, and it's an education institution. My resources and developments are develop my social media presence, look into residents around the world, apply for any open competitions, art competitions I could find, develop art connections, galleries, dealers, connectors, and cultivate relationships with museum curators. Apply for a master's in fine arts and become a media person. Thank you for listening. Sorry about my voice. Just